chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. This is fun. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Brown Chicken Brown Cow
Brown Chicken Brown
Cow. Oh, there's a monkey in here.
I know. Look at my tail.
What the heck? Look at your tail.
Yeah.
You look at your tail, monkey. Look at this tail that I'm making.
You've been knitting that since, I don't know, since I got here. That's amazing.
I do. I like to
So I
knit.
love the fact that you're
It's a
taking
secret.
a knitting string, really nice color, and turning it into a thicker string. This is beautiful.
I'm making a snake. I'll
It's
put
a
a
snake.
picture on the Brown Chicken Brown Cow Facebook page. This is what I do sometimes when I'm nervous. Some people cope with their anxiety using substances. My only substance is yarn. Well, I may have other substances, but today my only substance is yarn.
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 Yeah, because you brought your wonderful cucumber and ice water there. That's
I know.
a nice touch.
I'm not drinking alcohol today. It's not on purpose. It's just I don't happen to be. But oftentimes we do invite alcohol to be a guest on the Brown Chicken Brown Cow podcast.
Alcohol is almost an integral part of the show. I don't know what you're talking about.
Totally.
Even on Patreon, you can actually throw money at us to buy a drink for the cast.
That's right.
The crew and cast.
You can tip us. That's right. And the producers, the professor and the madam are currently toasting over the recording equipment. It's very
Red
cute.
wine. I am impressed.
So,
Wow.
so I'm Heather Beth, aka Heather. This is Sean Monkey McAnee, and we are here today recording episode 6 of our awesome podcast. What are we talking about today on our podcast, Sean?
Today
Monkey?
is monkey. There you go. Today is kind of that intersection of talking about disability and how that works with sex. And we have an amazing person coming on today, so we're going to get to him in just a moment. His name's
excited.
Andrew Gurza.
Yes.
So, but you know, I've had my trials with my own disability. And it started about 8 years ago, and I had to wrap my head around what it meant for me to be disabled. Had to change the way I had sex because sex was hurting me. Right, that's the hard part when something that's supposed to be enjoyable actually causes pain.
Right.
You're doing something wrong, or right, I guess, in certain groups.
Something needs to change.
Something needs to change.
We don't need to put a value judgment on it. We just need to
Right.
say something needs to change.
Yeah. So I had to wrap my head around that, and it took many years. And actually, I think it wasn't until my doctor finally said, "You are permanently disabled," before I was able to say, "Okay, I'm not going to change my body's not going to change,
Right.
and so I need to come to terms with that." And so I am from an injury getting to that point, but then we also have people who are born into disabilities, and so how do they, cope and manage and work their sexual creature and sexual mindset
Totally.
into things, and that's things I'm really interested in learning today.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm also interested in hearing about how our guest, how other people just experience their own sexual selves in a world that is pretty ableist. And if folks don't know, I don't know, I like to meet people where they're at, so I'm not going to assume everybody knows what ableism is, but it's basically like the ideas in our culture that that promote that promote the idea that there's something wrong with you inherently, or that you're less than, or you don't even get to be sexual if you have a disability. So I'm interested in talking about that, and like you said, the difference between a disability that you're born with versus a disability that you acquire. And I think we're only going to be able to get into that in like broad brush strokes,
Right.
because I imagine it's different for every person.
And it could be a whole subject in and of itself.
Oh my
So,
gosh, totally.
Yeah. So many things we're going to talk about today with Andrew.
Yes.
Probably we're going to just have to lightly hit so many different subjects because he is a really interesting cat.
Oh yes, that is a good summary of Andrew. He's an interesting cat. Can I tell a little bit more about Andrew?
What do you know about Andrew?
Okay. Andrew is awesome. He has a podcast called DisabilityAfterDark.
I saw that, and I've looked and listened to it a couple, and I'm like, just the name is sexy by itself.
Right, and don't you love, like, what I love about the podcast, like, in addition to obviously listening to Andrew talk about his life and his sexuality, is I love the intro. It's like super cute. People should just turn the podcast on and just listen to the intro, and then listen to the rest of the podcast, obviously. But I love it because it's like this sexy music, which kind of fits in with our brown chicken, brown cow. But it's like Disability After Dark, and it just makes me giggle. I love it.
Stuff,
Yeah, it's very sexy. Anyway, so should we bring him on?
Andrew Gurza. Come on down. You're the next contestant on the Brown Chicken Brown Cow.
Woo!
Hey guys, hi, hello, hi.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
Totally. I'm super excited to talk to you. So you are, we also said this with our last guest, and I want to talk about this with you too. We're in Sacramento, California, where it's currently 106 degrees. Where are you? Talk about where you're at.
I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So I'm on the East Coast, and I am really a hop, skip, and a jump from the CN Tower, which is like our Toronto's big claim to fame. So I'm right downtown in what is known as the Distillery District here in Toronto, which has some nice bars and some nice like chocolate eatery places. It's a really nice little area
Chocolate
here.
and beer? What?
I know Monkey and I are looking at each other like, okay,
Trip.
we're going to Toronto.
Yeah, you should take a trip up here, up to the Canadian North.
That sounds awesome. The madam is indicating that she also enjoys Toronto.
Well, the madam is from the Great White North, and so... Sorry, yes, I know.
That was reflex.
Yeah, it's really hard. The professor just kicked us off on a good round of the Great White North and Bob and Doug McKenzie. So,
Oh my God.
and the madam's not pleased. Okay, so we're moving on.
So I'm in my 30s, and I'm in that age bracket where I either don't get references because I'm too young, or I don't get them because I'm too old, and that was probably one of those ones that was age-related, maybe.
Yeah, it took me a minute until I heard them say that it was Bob and Doug McKenzie, and then my Canadianness was like, oh yeah, that, all right, yeah, got it.
Okay, that's the thing that you get. You probably get that reference more, because you and I are around the same age, I think, but you probably get it more because you're Canadian.
Oh, man, I think, Professor,
Yeah.
we just got tagged. We got tagged with being old.
No,
Older.
you
Oldish.
have life
Aged.
experience privilege.
Life experience privilege.
That's how we like to
That
say
is,
that.
that's a nice...
Go with old fart.
Oh, old
I like
fart.
that. I like it.
Thank
like
you,
it.
madam. She just threw an old fart. That's nice. I don't know
Okay,
why-
so Andrew, tell us a little bit more about how you decided to bring your experience of sexuality and disability to the world, because there are many people who might have a disability, but none of them might have been brave enough or awesome enough as you are to just be like, I'm going to talk about my sex life on a podcast. Tell me about that.
Well, my work really started kind of 5 or 6 years ago. I was sitting at home, kind of depressed and kind of bored and not really very happy with my life, and I decided that I wanted to just talk about my experiences being queer and disabled, and I had wanted to do it for a long time, but people told me that it wasn't a real job and nothing's gonna come of it, and it's really not worth it, and blah blah. So I didn't do it. I was looking for more traditional work, and then I just decided that I'm gonna do this. So I went on the web and I started looking up queer disability stuff, and there wasn't a lot. I didn't find a lot of stuff. And I just thought, I have all these experiences that I had from my 20s. I was entering my 30s. I was like, I have all these stories that I haven't shared with anybody. Why don't I turn this into a thing? And then so I branded myself a disability awareness consultant, which is a term that I kind of made up on the fly.
Yes.
And I later found out that I had actually inadvertently stolen it from people that actually coined the term.
Oh.
But I thought I made it up. So I thought it was really cool, and I went on Vistaprint and made a card and said, "This is what I do now. Hire me to do the things." And I immediately started contacting places like Huffington Post and The Advocate and magazines like that, saying, "I have stories I'd like to share with you. Can you help me grow them?" And HuffPost was one of the first places that said, okay, pitch us some ideas and we'll put it up there. And then from when that stuff started getting traction and
Wow.
started getting people really paying attention to what I was doing, then I knew I had something, and I said, okay, well, now I want to take it to a podcast. Not so much because I was like, oh, yay, podcasting, yay, the world's going to hear my voice. But it was like, this is an easy thing for me to do. I don't have to expend any energy.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do is talk, which I later found out it's so much more than that.
yeah, it is a little bit more work than that. I'm finding this is now episode 6 of our podcast, and I'm like, I have to think about Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
It's not
I'm
just the
heading in-
recording time.
I'm heading into episode 52, so I understand the challenges of trying to keep it fresh and new. But I just thought the podcast for me was something that I was excited to do and putting my views out into the world.
Totally.
And with such a niche podcast like what I was doing around sex and disability, I honestly didn't believe that it would actually go anywhere. I was like, no one's gonna listen to this. This is such a niche thing. And actually, what I find is that I get about 200 downloads per episode.
Sweet.
And so that's not a huge number, but it's pretty big given the topic that we're discussing.
Well, it's not nothing. Yeah. At least 200 people every week? No.
It was every week, and I've just transitioned to a 2-week.
So every other week, you're like influencing the lives of 200 people. What's that like? I'm such a therapist sometimes.
Yes, you are.
Sorry.
I've gotten some really good responses, and people saying, I've listened to your podcast. Thank you so much for putting it out there. Thank you so much for telling our stories. I've had people tell me that my podcast turns them on a little bit when I talk about my sex life.
Ooh, that's fun.
Which is flattering and also a little bit weird, but flattering. It's just weird because I don't see it as like a sexy thing. I see it as work, but like I appreciate that people are listening to what I say.
Yeah.
So much so that they're getting turned on. I think the response has been really positive, and I'm really proud that it is the only podcast out there right now focusing primarily on sexuality and disability. And so I'm proud to be, one of the first, and I'm hoping that some other people locally to me have wanted to do similar types of podcasts around their disabilities, and they approached me and said, we don't want to step on your toes. And I said, no, go ahead, please do your own. And
I know that you've had some really cool guests on in the past where they've talked about their life experiences, and I like the episodes where you talk about your life experiences, and I also like the episodes where other people do. I think you had somebody on who was a writer for like Autostraddle or Bitch Magazine, and it totally made me go and like check that person out and listen to their stuff. And I love the fact that you're not only are you using your your platform to share about your experience, but you're also like sharing about other people, the diversity of other people's experiences. And I guess that just makes me think about the fact that disability can mean so many different things. Like it could mean a physical disability that you're either born with, or it could mean something that's like acquired later in life, like Monkey was talking about at the top of the show. We were also interviewing on our most recent episode Joellen Naughty. I don't know if you know her, but the redhead bedhead. She talks a lot about sex and depression. So there's like those types of invisible disabilities, and some people might consider mental illness like quote unquote a disability, and other people might not. And so tell me more about that. Tell me about like the diversity of disability experiences, at least as far as like folks that you've encountered or worked with.
There's so much diversity within our community, and that's why when you're interviewing somebody, you have to be really careful how you talk about their disability, and you have to check in with them. And so I always check in with the people that I'm interviewing before we do an interview. I do a pre-interview and say like, what are your preferred? How would you like to be identified? What's your disability? Do you have a disability? Like tell me all the things, and tell me how you want to be described, so that I don't fuck it up for you and say something.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't be that awkward ableist person. I mean, I'm probably very much that awkward ableist person. I try to be aware of my awkwardness. So tell me a little bit. So speaking of that, tell me about ways that you talk about your experience that might be different from other people's way that they talk about their experience.
Well, I refer to myself as a queer cripple. That's kind of my brand. I really, really lean into the kind of. I don't want to say that I like use the shock value, but I do a little bit. I like to play with the idea that if I say cripple, you're going to be offended for me, and so. I refer to myself quite openly, and my experience of disability is being a cripple in the work I do in both my writing and my podcast, and I've had people call me on that, but I always say back to them, it's really not fair that you're trying to police my use of my own language. But when it comes to another disabled person, I would never say like, hey, cripple, what's up? I'd say like, hey, so I see you may have a disability. How would you like me to address that? What's
Mm-hmm.
what works for you? And I mean, especially on the podcast, that's why I have a pre-interview questionnaire that clearly says, like, how do you want to be described? What terminology should I use for you, so that I know that I'm not inadvertently hurting somebody by not knowing how they want to be identified.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for saying that. I feel like what I like about our show is that people can learn a lot about topics that are like stigmatized or awkward or that people don't talk about, and they can just like learn it in their earbuds and then feel a little bit less like weird or confused or ignorant about it. So I feel like hopefully this is a learning experience for me, and hopefully it's a learning experience for our listeners.
Well, yeah,
right now.
shows,
Thank you.
shows like Andrew and ours, I look to putting the information out there to try to normalize these things, so people understand that this is, a disability, this is depression, this is sex in a different way that I'm not aware of. Maybe it'll open up minds, and maybe it'll start dialogues. So that's the goal of this show.
I'm gonna call that in very gently. My work isn't attempting to normalize disability, and I think I just flag the word normalize because I think normalize has a lot of like really touchy connotations within the disability community.
Oh, interesting.
What I'm doing is not an attempt to normalize the experience. It's simply to say the experience is here.
Okay.
Because
Love it.
the experience of disability generally is not one that will ever be normal. And
Right.
I personally, in my own personal politic, I don't want to be normal. I mean, there are moments where I'd like to.
Maybe that's why you and I would refer to ourselves as queer, huh?
Probably, yeah. Well, see, the reason why I refer to myself as a queer cripple is because I don't feel. I primarily only sleep with men, but I don't feel like I fit into the gay male aesthetic.
Sure.
Because of my disability. So I don't feel like I'm very much welcome into that world, to be quite honest. So when I say queer has a nice umbrella kind of terminology that's like, yeah, you're not really, you're definitely not straight, but you don't have to adhere to all this other stuff. When you say gay, people assume it means one thing.
Sure.
And because my disability is so intersectional with that, I just think queer is a lot more encompassing of my experience.
Totally. That makes a lot of sense. I'm being told that we need to take a quick break.
Well, yeah, we're going to go to a break. You know what? This is a great time to insert a little bit of a musical break. Recently, we sat down and had a show. You're going to be able to see it coming up real soon with Stephen Yerke. He's an amazing musician, and he's able to play guitar, sing. He does the harmonica. He's really, really freaking cool. We're going to be playing Don't Be Cruel. You're probably familiar with this one. So when we come back, we'll explore a little bit more with Andrew.
Heck yeah. Looking forward to it and looking forward to the music.
All right.
All right. A song from the pen of Otis Blackwell. This is probably my favorite song of all the songs I do. I know I can't be found, sit home all alone. If you can't come around, at least please telephone. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Baby, if I made you mad, something I might have said, please don't forget the past. The future looks bright ahead. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. I don't know love. Maybe it's just you I'm thinking of. Well, let's go to the preacher. I let him say I do. Then you'll have me, and I'll know that I have you. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. I don't want no love, baby, it's just you I'm thinking of. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. I don't want no love, baby, it's just you I'm thinking of. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. No?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Welcome back to.
Welcome back to the Brown Chicken, Brown Cow show. I was setting you up to do the cow
I
joke
know.
again.
Well, okay, but I felt not confident about it because
Oh.
it was. I don't know.
Because my notes, yeah. I kind of sang off key there a second. You can point at me and laugh. It's fun. Well, higher. Fingers higher, please. There you go.
Oh,
That's
okay.
much better.
Don't point at that.
No, the madam's pointing. Yeah, there we go. And so I blush.
I can't point. I'm too busy knitting.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, everybody. Monkey is blushing. Woo,
Yeah.
woo,
Oh,
woo,
is that
woo.
the noise?
Make a tip.
Make a tip on our Patreon page.
Is that English? Did I English? Make a tip.
Make a tip, eh? Oh. Andrew, welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
I'm being picked on, so I'm just going to try to get out of this little section of the show. You've been doing, I think, 50 or so shows up to this point, and you've covered a lot of different topics. Can you maybe highlight some of your favorite episodes or topics that you've covered?
There's been so many. I enjoyed the one I did about anal sex.
Sounds good.
Anal sex and disability, and trying to access anal sex as a disabled person, and just how really hard it is when your body doesn't move certain ways. I liked the one I did that I called Cripplingus, looking at
Yes.
oral sex and disability.
Love it.
I did one just recently, the one that's actually going to go live tomorrow. Well, I don't know if it's tomorrow for the listeners here, but tomorrow in the world. I spoke with a friend of mine who's autistic, and we talked about the connection between autism and sexuality, and it was really eye-opening for me. I actually didn't. This is one of those episodes where I just shut up and listened for an hour because they had so much to say, and they were really educating me on the different nuances of the disability experience that I'm really honored when somebody gives me that kind of access into their world to hear what their experience is, because my disability, it's a physical disability, and I also recognize that I'm a white, cisgendered, disabled man, so there are many times where even my privilege, I have to shut up and just listen. And so what I enjoy about my podcast is that when I invite a guest on, what I'm really saying is I want to give you an hour to talk about your life as much as you want, and I'm just gonna listen to you. So it's always a pleasure, and this next one coming was so fun to film, to record. I'm really excited for people to hear it.
That's super awesome. And when you're talking about a little bit about Heather, form a sentence. First of all, part A, I'm excited to hear this episode of your podcast, as I'm excited to hear every episode when it comes out. And B,
Yay. Yay.
Oh, yay! We're having a round of yays. We don't have any fun here at all. No, fun is not allowed.
Not even just a little bit.
Not even-
Very
a bit,
serious
no.
crew.
Not even a little bit, no.
Okay.
But when you were speaking about privilege, what that makes me think of is how disability, like many other identities or experiences, is something that an individual experiences individually, but your experience of yourself is also, correct me if I'm wrong, formed and shaped by interactions with other people and our broader culture. And so I guess I just had a few questions about that. Like, well, I have one question. There could be many others, but one is, what do you think are some important things that folks who are exploring their sexuality or do work in the sexuality field should know around, like, reducing our ableism? That's a pretty big question, so sorry if that's too big of a question.
It's a pretty big order, but first try to remember that just don't ask me stupid questions.
Oh no, was that a stupid question?
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
I'm being really sincere about this. Don't ask like, hey, so like, does your dick work?
Oh, that kind of
that
stupid
type
questions.
of shit. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
That's not a question that I'm gonna respond to. Or like, hey, so like, can you have sex? Really, the stuff that we who are disabled and working in this field hear all the time. Don't ask those questions. If you really, truly, genuinely want to learn about my sexuality, or if you want to sleep with me, because you all should, because I'm hot. But if you want to learn about my body, or you want to, maybe have some sexy times, you could start with, hey, I see you have a disability. I know nothing about that, but I'd like to learn. Can we go over here and talk about it? At that point, and I've said this on previous podcasts that I've been guests on, if somebody said that to me at a bar, or at a club, or at a conference, my pants would be down, and the door to my room would be unlocked, and I'd be like, okay, I'll wait for you up there. See you later. Bye.
Okay, everybody knows how to get with Andrew now. Just a hot tip. So find out what conferences he's going to be at. Say those exact words.
Yeah, those exact. Yeah.
Got it.
But it's just a matter of respect. It's not that you can't know. It's not that you won't have a barrage of stupid questions. It's how you connect with the individual, and how you own the fact that you don't know anything. I think when people don't know stuff about my disability and we're engaged in either a sexual encounter or we're at a conference or something, and you're asking me these questions, I feel much more inclined to answer your question if you said something like, hey, so I see you have a disability, or you noted, or for somebody who doesn't have a visible disability, you could say, hey, I noted that you discussed in that conference that you have an invisible disability. I'm curious to learn more. Would it be okay if we can talk about it? At that point, the disabled person has the right to still say, you know what, I don't really want to talk about it, thanks, but no. Because constantly being asked these questions is very tiring and is kind of a form of ableism in itself.
Right.
But the way you asked me is gonna determine what I'm gonna do next, especially if we're gonna fuck around. If you ask me in the way that I've just done there, I'm much more likely to be like, all right, my pants are off, let's do this thing, as opposed to telling you to fuck off and driving away.
Awesome. Thank you. That sounds like you said, people are going to have a variety of responses to that, but at least that's like people are still able to be like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you about that, but at least that's like more of like a curious and humble way of going about it rather than like being weird and invasive, I guess.
It's a reminder that I am a disabled person, and it's giving me the agency to say, no, I don't want to speak about this right now.
Right. It's all about consent, huh? Like we talk about consent a lot in my line of work and in life. So very cool. Okay.
I'm sorry, I've been silent here for the half the show now. I'm not quite sure where I'm headed.
I don't know. You just knew that I wanted to geek out with Andrew about his podcast.
Well, you did. I mean, you were excited when you introduced me to Andrew.
I'm so excited. I'm like fan kidding over here.
Oh, geez.
Yay, it's so awesome.
Yay. I have another question.
Oh, you do?
What other work do you think needs to be done in the world so that the world is a better place for folks with disabilities to experience their sexuality in just a better, more pleasurable, awesome way?
Again, that's such a loaded
question.
No, I'm sorry.
There's so much that needs to be done. We need to start we need to start seeing disabled sexuality in the media, not as this like castrated, like neutered thing that we see in the media, like, oh, so-and-so is going to the prom with their like disabled friend because they felt bad for them, and so they're taking them to the prom. Let's all be excited about that. No, we need to, or like, oh, so and so who are disabled are getting married. Let's make it a news story. No, we need to see like, hey, so on this queer show, there happens to be a queer person with disabilities. Like, the L word's coming back. Um, and so I saw a thing on Twitter the other day. Somebody posted a Twitter was like, I'll only watch the L word if it is if it includes more people of color, more people with disabilities, more intersectionality. And I was like, yes to all of this because it was so true. But
And
we
also
need to
the
see-
actors themselves, maybe more of them should be queer. I feel like there was Leisha Haley, and then I don't think that there was like anybody else on the cast who was really actually queer in real life.
There was
Maybe
there
like
was
one or two other people, but
the woman who played the trans character, I think
who played
actually
Max? Yeah.
came out as trans maybe at the end.
Oh,
I'm not
really?
sure, but I think so.
I'm gonna have to Google that shit.
And so like that show and like Queer as Folk, if they do a revival, like there needs to be
Sure.
so much more intersectionality, and so
Totally.
and I'm actually writing it. I wrote a piece for a publication that I can't say who it is yet, but it's coming
Ooh.
out this week.
Oh my God, I'm gonna follow you and find. I already follow you, but I can't wait to be like one of the first people to find out about that.
It's coming out this week, and I wrote about the need for representation in the media of queer people with disabilities and queer disabled people.
Yes.
And talking about shows like Queer as Folk and shows that I grew up on, and I was like, I never saw myself. So when I was growing up,
Totally.
I gravitated towards, for me, white, cisgendered, muscular, able-bodied men,
Yep.
because I was taught that that's what I should go for.
There's another
now
word
that
for our
I'm-
listeners: homonormativity, right? Like we have
Yeah,
heteronormativity,
yeah.
but then we have like homonormativity. Like, what does it look like? You're only allowed to be like one marginalized thing at a time, right? Like you're like, oh, that's cool that you're gay, but also in order for us to accept you, us being like mainstream culture, you also have to be like white and pretty and rich and cisgender and able-bodied and all the things.
And
So
ready to fuck all the time and blah, blah
Right?
and all those things. And so what TV, especially queer TV, needs to do is to, when they include somebody with a disability or with a different level of marginalization, they need to make sure that they don't stereotype them. And so
right.
one of the things that I'm most proudest of that I've ever done, and I haven't even talked about this on my podcast yet, but I did this a couple years ago. Do you guys in the States, did you ever watch a show called One Girl, Five Gays?
No, but I want to watch it now.
It was a little show produced here in Canada, in Toronto, and it was kind of a big deal in its first 4 seasons. And on the 5th season, they replaced the cast. And I approached them because they were looking for cast members. And I approached them and said, listen, I love your show. You guys need to have some queer representation. And it was like this show where 5 queer men and one girl would sit on a couch and talk to each other about topical things of the day. And so the for the first 4 seasons, the cast got pretty big, and around the 5th season, they were looking for a new cast. And so when I approached them, they said, "Oh no, we'd love to have you come down." I was like, "What? This is crazy!" Because it was going to be on national television.
Oh my God,
And
awesome.
I was like, "Oh my God, this is!" And I was like 28, 29, but I was so terrified but excited at the same time. So they had me for the audition, and within 20 minutes of me going in and telling them why I wanted to do why I wanted to be there, I said, "Listen, I'm disabled. You've never had anybody with a disability on the show. It's really important for this community. Blah blah blah. Like, please." And within 20 minutes, they were like, "Okay, we never do this, but we're hiring you."
Fuck
And so
yes.
Wow.
What? You were on this show?
They hired me
Oh my
to be on it, and I'd never been on TV before. I'd never done any media like that, and I got to do about 7 episodes, which 7 episodes over about 6 months, so they spread it out.
Dude.
But
I
to
did
be
not
on
know
a
that
na-
about you. Now I have another thing to fangirl about. Jeez, I'm never gonna sleep.
It went off the air a couple years ago because it wasn't working anymore.
Just runs
Oh.
its course.
So-
yeah.
It went off the air,
They-
but your episodes were on the air? They did air them?
My episodes were on the air.
What? Oh my God, I need to find out
So
about this.
it went from, my episodes went from, I think, October 2013 to about January 2015.
Okay. I gotta check this out.
Seven episodes within a year. Like, really, we filmed them in 6 months, but they spread them out. But it was just so cool to see people watch this show. And I mean, the audience of the show was, you know, high school kids, college kids, queer college kids. But to see, like,
Awesome.
to know that this was the first time some people might have encountered somebody with a disability on television. That's what I was so proud of, to know that somebody was seeing this all across Canada and being like, wow, there I am. And so
that is so fantastic. And, you know, we have to take a break in just a second, but I just want to say before we do that you actually answered the question that I wanted to ask, which is, what are some examples of awesome representation of disability and, you know, aspects of sexuality and culture? And I love that you answered that question by fucking making the media. So thank you for doing that. I love that you were just like, this needs to happen. You're gonna have me on. I want there to be more people like you in the world. That's all.
Thanks.
I think we have to take a break.
Well, we do. We have to pay some
right?
bills. We have to, you know, pay homage to the great advertiser, god or goddess in the sky, so that we can.
Which god or goddess or
well,
gender neutral?
It's
deity
Lucky Bloke
is that?
condoms. You can get condoms. It's a condom service. You can just order condoms to your house.
That's so cool.
Listen to the commercial because, you know, I talk more about that there.
Okay.
But number two. And or they can just get them from you because you have earrings. Number two is a local burlesque troupe here in Sacramento called Midtown Moxies. They are amazing. But let's go ahead and pay some bills, and we'll be right back and catching up with Andrew just a little bit more and talking about maybe more media and you know, the identities in media and stuff like that.
So into it. Let's do it.
All right, let's go to break. Hi guys, it's Sean Monkey McEnany from Brown Chicken Brown Cow. You know what I suggest? I suggest you go to luckybloke.com. Why? Because you can order your condoms online every month. Let's say you have multiple lovers that require different types of condoms, small, medium, large. You don't have to go to the store and buy all these different condoms. You can actually order them from Lucky Bloke. Let's say you have a lover that's latex sensitive. You can get latex-free condoms in that same package with everything else. It is a fantastic program. It is a monthly service. You need to go to luckybloke.com and tell them Monkey sent you. Trust me, they know who I am. Hi guys, this is Sean Monkey McEnany, Monkey for short. You know what? If you're in town here in Sacramento, or if you're anywhere, you need to check out Midtown Moxies. They are a Sacramento burlesque troupe that is blowing my doors off. They are amazing. Generally, they have 2 shows a month. One called the Midtown Moxies and one called Moxie Crush. You need to go to midtownmoxies.com or find them on Facebook. They are amazing. They're beautiful. They're funny as hell. Trust me, I wouldn't be advertising with them if I didn't believe in them. They are freaking fantastic. Enough said. Go to midtownmoxies.com. Hi guys, this is Sean Monkey McEnany, Monkey for short. What you need to know now is that Brown Chicken Brown Cow needs your love. It needs your help, and it, well, you know, personally, we could use your money. But short of that, what you need to do is go out and like our Facebook page. Number 2, give us a review on whatever podcast ability you have. Go out to iTunes, go out to Google Play, give us a good review because that helps. Number 3, subscribe. Subscribe to our podcast because that helps our numbers, helps us with advertisers, helps us with everything. It makes us look good, actually. And number 4, and this is very important, come close to the speaker. It's fantastic. You can go out to Patreon and support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/BCBC podcast. You can support us at whatever level of support you think you can manage. I don't want you to give us money if you can't do it, but I want you to give us some money and we'll give you back some love as well. We'll give you back some stuff. We'll talk about you on the radio, who knows. But in the end, supporting us helps keep the show going. Subscribing to the podcast gives us better numbers. And liking our Facebook page, guess what? You always know when the show's coming. So, this is Monkey. You're you. We are together. Cuckoo-cuckoo. Fantastic. See you on the next show.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to.
The Brown Chicken Brown Cow podcast.
You weren't going to let me keep interrupting you?
No.
That's awesome.
Knock, knock. Moo.
Oh, interrupting cow.
So we're here with Andrew Gurza, who I'm like totally geeking out and fangirling about. As if you've been listening
You
to the
haven't
rest of the
squeed
show.
yet, but you're getting really. There it is. She just squeed for you, Andrew.
Still squeeing.
Amazing.
Not done squeeing.
That was a long squee.
Okay. That's all. Monkey, you've been a little more on the quiet side today.
Oh.
So tell me, like, do you have more questions for Andrew, or?
You know what? He's answered so many questions for me already. Even
right?
ones he didn't know he answered for me.
know.
He is awesome.
I told you.
Yeah,
I told you.
you're connected. I guess.
I just like we gotta have this guy on. Anyway.
Haven't we been trying to get me out there at some point?
Say that again. Yeah. Oh, yes. So let's talk about this. Okay. So we've been talking about the idea. So Sex Positive Sacramento, my little organization, which is oftentimes me in my living room thinking about bringing sex positivity to Sacramento. Sort of self-reflective there. We've been thinking about. I have a couple of friends and colleagues who've been talking about doing maybe starting off with like a one day, maybe making it multiple in the future, but like a symposium on sex and disability, and like why hasn't that happened, and why not us, and why not now, and why not Sacramento? So yes, you're right, we have been thinking about that, and it hasn't happened yet, but I would love to make it happen.
Anybody who's listening to us out there who wants to help back this great collaboration of minds,
Yes.
come and let us both know, because I want to come to California.
Yeah,
I
dude, I would love it if you'd come.
born there.
Don't come right now, it's 106 degrees.
Oh,
Come
it's
in the
horrible.
fall or the spring. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Sacramento in the fall is actually really nice.
Yes.
Sacramento in the spring is disgusting.
Well, if you have allergies, yeah.
Yeah, Sacramento is known as also the City of Trees, even though they changed it to the Farm to Fork capital.
No, it's City of Trees.
It's still the City of Trees
Should
to
be.
me. But you sneeze, you cough,
The
your
madam is miming sneezing at us.
hay fever, your eyes fall out of your head. It's just
Pretty
gross.
awful.
So fall to me is the best time of year for Sacramento.
Yes, fall would be a great time. We have to think about this and figure out how to make this happen. Thank you for bringing that up, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
It's my own selfish desire to travel. I was like, let's talk about getting me.
Well, and I got a lot of friends, and there's a lot of people who are sex positive down in the Bay Area too, so we can figure out some type of like tour de force of Andrew of California. We'll figure it out.
That'd be great.
Yes.
No, I don't really have any other questions to bring
You were
to mind.
asking earlier, Heather, about media representation.
There we
Yeah,
go.
totally. Let's talk about that.
Well, not that I want to toot my own horn again, but I recently was in a documentary put on by the National Film Board of Canada, talking specifically about my work.
Dude,
in sex and disability.
you're like blowing up all the media. I'm into it. By the way, I have to sorry to interrupt you, but it's a thing that we do. Monkey has blushed like 3 times during this whole conversation, during this and the last segment. And so I just want folks to know that if they would like to tip us, what did I say? Make a tip.
Make a tip.
Make a tip.
Make a
If you'd
tip.
like to make a tip, then you have 3 opportunities to do so. Look at you still blushing. So cute. You know that it's like Pavlovian now, and
It
like all you have to
is.
do is be like, "Hey, monkey,"
No.
Blush.
No.
and he'll blush. It's
No.
really
No.
cute. So yes, media representation around disability, queerness, sexuality. Lay it on me. You're in a documentary. Tell us all about it, please.
In a documentary, currently going through its festival run, hoping that it reaches California somehow.
Yes, dude.
Um,
Wouldn't that be cool?
Don't know how yet. I'm not the producer or the director, so I can't speak to how. But it just won. It just won the best Canadian short
What?
at both the Inside Out Film Festival in Toronto, which happened in May, and then the Halifax Queer Film Festival out east is what it's called. The
That's
Halifax Queer Film
awesome.
Festival in Halifax, Nova
It won.
Scotia.
It won the award for best short documentary at both of those places.
Best Canadian short of both of those places, and audience favorite of both of those places. So it's won
What?
in its brief life. It's won 4 awards already, which is pretty awesome.
Dude. Sorry, I was just exclaiming, "Dude!" I was excited.
That is awesome. That's really freaking cool.
I know. Okay, so it's at festivals right now. So I don't know a lot about films. So that means it's like not in theaters or online. You have to see it at a festival.
Yeah, it's it's going through a festival run right now, which means
Okay.
that you have to see it at the festival. Eventually, soon, it will be given a wider release, but not yet. But I mean, I'm excited that it's getting such reaction and people are. And
Yeah.
really, it's a visual version of this podcast, as in you're asking me all these questions around sex and disability and
Yeah.
queerness, and it's me for 33 minutes, kind of sharing my experience with the audience about my life and my experience. And you meet like my mom, my best friend is in it. Like,
Cool.
so it's really a nice kind of bookend to my experience.
Wow.
Are there any Facebook pages or websites we can find more information about it?
The Facebook page is one that I run, so it's
Okay.
pretty like nothing's happened on it recently.
Okay.
But if you go to picture this documentary, but really, if you just type in my name, Andrew Gurza, you can connect to my Facebook page.
Okay.
And when things will, and same with my Twitter. Andrew Gurza is my Twitter.
Awesome.
You should all pause right now and follow me.
That's what
there.
I was literally going to say. I think we're taking some notes here so we can put all this stuff in the show notes too. So.
So there,
Great.
and then I think and then also AndrewGurza.com is where I have the podcast and
Okay.
and where you can hire me for bookings and hire me to do talks and writing and stuff for you. So
That's
I'm
fantastic.
really trying really hard to build kind of a little business for myself within disability culture.
And that's another, again, with just like you not being shy about that. I totally appreciate that. Where you're just like, this is what I'm doing, this is who I am, and you're not shy about being like, you all need to support me on this. I feel like, I hope this isn't too much. We could cut this out if you don't like this, but in a couple of our private conversations, I love it. Like the first 2 or 3 times I talked to you, you were like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do this project. Hey, also, how about you support me on Patreon? And I was like, all right. I appreciate that. I'm like, here's this dude who's like, I know what my worth is, and I'm not going to be shy about it. So,
yeah, I'm pretty shameless about that because people.
It's great.
And I'll explain why really quickly. People with disabilities often are asked to do so much of the emotional labor
Right.
of
Yeah.
telling their stories for free.
Yep.
So many marginalized people are asked to simply go up there and tell their stories and be paid nothing, and I really don't think it's fair. And so I've reached. And I did that for a long time when I was first starting out doing this work. I took a lot of free gigs to try to get my name out there. But now that I have a little bit of profile, and now that I understand my worth, I refuse to do that. So now when someone says,
Love
hey,
it.
would you write this article for me and we can give you nothing? Or would you, do a consultation for me and we can give you nothing and we can give you exposure? And I go, no, thanks. This past month I declined.
You're like,
2 or
only if
3.
this exposure is going to pay my rent, because I'm not sure, if, I don't know about you, but in this economy, usually I kind of need money to pay my rent.
Yeah, and I mean, so I'm shameless with the Patreon page. So
Right.
if people want to go there, actually,
That's rad.
Patreon.com/Andrew Gurza, and you can, really it's just for the podcast right now, but I am going to expand it to my writing and stuff and writing things for particular places if, hopefully that becomes a thing. But I would love support for the podcast because it is, you guys know, it's not easy to create content. So if people want to help with that, I would appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, it seems like that might be a good note to end on, unless there's anything else that you want to share about how people can find you or what upcoming projects you have going on. We are pretty close to wrapping up. So final thoughts?
It was just fun to have a gab out sesh with you guys finally.
Nice.
Yay.
If the people want to reach me, Andrew Gurza on Twitter. I'm really active there. Please follow me. I love getting followers. Andrew Gurza 1 on Facebook. AndrewGurza.com and AndrewGurza.com is my email.
And
Also, I'm looking.
Oh, sorry.
for
Go ahead.
new, as I keep talking, I'm looking for new guests on my podcast. So if you're somebody with or without a disability and you want to talk about sex and disability with me, come on Disability After Dark.
Love it. That's what I was just going to say. So your podcast is also available on iTunes? I know it's on Stitcher because I use Stitcher.
iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, my website, AndrewGurza.com.
Rock out.
Pretty much all the major podcast platforms. It's ready to go.
That's awesome. Thank
Okay,
you,
so-
Andrew.
So no carrier pigeons, but all the internet grabbers and podcast grabbers you can
I
find.
can't get your podcast on carrier pigeon.
I've been working on that for our
Oh.
show, but that's
Really, I mean,
We are some of the sexiest animals in the barnyard.
Thank you for catching that in the reference.
Okay, Andrew. Well, thank you so much for being here and letting me geek out and fangirl at you.
pretty awesome. It was my pleasure.
You were too funny.
I get excited about
I
cool
see that.
people, and we're gonna figure out some way to get you out to California, dude. It's gonna happen. We just gotta work on it.
Yes, I'm so excited because I was born there, so it's like
What?
home.
You were? Oh my God,
Born
we
in
have
Orange
to chat
County,
more.
OC.
Orange County. Oh boy.
You were born in the OC? That's funny. My mom is from Orange County. Oh my God.
You two can take
Okay.
this off.
Yeah, I know we can take this off the air. Okay, I'm gonna chat at you later tonight. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Thank you.
fun episode. That was a
Thanks,
lot of information, a lot of really cool details and information.
Totally.
And he's awesome. Oh my God.
I know. I told you.
Media, writing, podcasting,
Movies, TV, all the things.
What is
Asking
all the
people for money because he's not afraid to do that.
Well,
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not afraid.
Not afraid.
Not afraid.
Love it.
Don't be afraid. Do the thing.
So are we off? We're off.
No, we're still on. Sorry, you got in this part of the show too.
I think. Can I now I want to make bumper stickers that say
Am I still on?
yeah, or I was gonna say kill fear and ableism with sexy sexual disability after dark or something, but I don't know.
You're getting a little wordy. I mean,
You know what? My bumper stickers are also 10-point font, just like my PowerPoint presentation.
all right. I think we can end it there. Thank you for listening to Brown Chicken, Brown Cow. I've been Sean Monkey McAney.
I have been Heather, aka Heather Beth.
Well, quotations.
Quotations, Woodford.
We will catch you next time. Make sure to check out all the places that you can find us and donate on Patreon. Like us on all of the different podcast locations. Especially subscribe because those numbers mean a lot to us. And we will catch you next time.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow. This is fun.
Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.